week. So today we'll talk about SQL, and in today's class we'll be covering what we should have covered in week 5, RDBMS concepts, RDBMS databases, introductory syntax, data types. All right. Operators, expressions, create, drop, delete, select, use statements, drop and delete, insert, select, where and or update, delete, like, top limits. Right, we should be able to finish that today. And doing that, we'll be using the PDF file I'll be sending to you guys, which talks about SQL commands, constraints, the operators. So I want us to look at these 3 categories today. All right, and afterwards, the next other week we'll look at some other stuff that this curriculum will cover. All right, so without wasting much of our time, let's get started. So what is SQL? So SQL is an abbreviation for structured query language. It's a language to request data from the database. So when you have a database, there is a language that should communicate with your database, and that language is called SQL, right? Is a non-procedural query language in which the expected result is given without specific details about how to accomplish the task, right? So we have some procedural languages, right, that requires the details of operations to be stored, such as opening and closing tables, loading, searching indexes, and writing data to files. So under SQL, we have 3 SQL commands. Before now, it was just DDL, DML, and DCL, but now we now have 4 SQL commands. So the 4 are DDL, which is data definition language, DML, data manipulation language, TCL, transaction control language, DCL, data control language commands, right? So under DDL, we have some controls which I will state now. So let me expand this. So SQL commands, all right, SQL commands, they are DDL, DML, and we have TCL and DCL, right? For DDL, we have the acronym USID, right? And for DML, we have the acronym draft, right? Draft. So what's the meaning of USID? USID means update, all right. Sorry, this should be DML. Sorry, so this is, let's just change this. So Control X, Control V, USID. So DDL is drop. These are the language. These are the commands under DDL. Drop, alter, that's A. Then we have create, right, and then we have truncate. So these are the commands under DDL, and under DML you have update, we have select, we have insert, we have delete, right? So we're looking at these 2 categories today. So I will starting with create, and as you can see here, so you can see DDL, data definition language commands are used to create a table, structure, modify the table, structure, and delete the table. So you can see from what I have, DDL is draft. You can see modify, create, drop, and then truncate. So we'll start now. So to create a table, the syntax to create a table, just like the same way you can open an Excel file, all right, and say I want to have 3 tables: name, sex, and gender, for example. So these are, and you can name this guy demography or details, customers, for example. So the name of this table is what? Customer, and the columns in this table is what? Name, sex, and gender. Let's replicate the same thing. So the syntax is create, then create table, right? The table name, create table. You can see this in bold letter means is a command, right? Create table command. You can see create table command. So create table, the table name, and then the columns you want to insert into the table, right? And the data type and the size. Now what do we mean by that? If you go to Excel, now these are the columns you want to insert. This name of course is a text, but in SQL Server we call it character, so we call it varchar, right? That will be the data type. Sex is also something like male, female, so it's also varchar, and gender is also varchar, right? Okay, sex is, let's change this one to age. Age now in this case will be what? Int. If you are having a date, let's say there is a date, date will be what? The date data type. The same thing is what we have in SQL. So now the size here now denotes something. So for example, you have Mike, and someone is also bearing in one Chuku. You can see the length is different, abi? So but in Excel, if the moment you pick a text, it recognizes everything. But in SQL, you have to ensure that you put the size. This one size is 4, this one is longer. So that's the meaning of the size that you have in that command. So the size. So for example, if it just to be on the safer side, you can make it 50 or 100 depending on how long a name can be. So that's how to create a table. So let's proceed to SSMS and create a new query. So I'll pick new query and then I will write my statement. Create table. Remember, we want to create the table we have in that Excel customer, right? And then we open a bracket. What are the columns? If you look at the Excel, we see that we have name, sex, age, and date. So name is the first. So the data type is varchar, and then I will put, let's say 50 is the size, comma, I can create another column, name, sex, so sex is also varchar. Let's make that one 50 as well, comma, what's the next one? Age. So age is int, 20, 30, 40, so we call that one int. So that's another data type. And then the last one is date, abi? So date, that one there is a data type called date. So let's just write it in small letters so that it won't confuse. So there is no need for, so then you close the bracket and end it with this semicolon. Immediately we do this and we press execute, then our table will be created. You can see commands completed successfully. To give you the time it takes to complete that command. So the command has been completed now, right? So I can go back to remember the structure of a database, right? So we have database. These are SQL data. Any database is structured. You have database. Under database, you have schemas. Right, I explained that last week. Under schemas, we have tables, and then we can also have views, which I told you views are like what? Calculated tables. So database, the schema is like, okay, I want schema will be like that measure table and the measures under them, and then the tables. So under a schema you have many tables. Under database you have many schemas, just in that hierarchy. So if I go back to my tables and I refresh now, so let me go back and collapse all this so that we understand. So you can see that we have databases. So under databases we have what? Schemas, right? But schemas might not show. So these are databases, right? So you can see. Then you have tables. So if I refresh this table now, I will see that my table customer now. Wow, so you can see now this is table customer that we just created. Now this is one way to create a table. All right, you can also create a table by just coming to tables, right clicking and say new table. Here you now have the opportunity of entering what entering those names one by one. So I will say name. Data type is what? Varchar. You can see var var. Now this one means allow nulls. Allow nulls means I want to allow null, meaning for example a primary key should not have nulls, abi it must be unique and must not have nulls. But if you want to allow null, like if someone input a data and does not, let's say for example does not, this table that we are creating now, for example if someone input data and does not include name, just said blank for name, sex, age and date as data. In that case, if you say allow null, so it won't throw error, it will accept that data. But if you do not click this allow null, if it is not checked, so if you throw in a data that is not complete, for that does not have name, it will not register it because null is not allowed, right? So for this, let's just say we want to allow nulls, right? Then the next column is sex, and then we say it's also varchar. 50 is okay as well. Name, we can change that later. Then the next one is age. Age is what? Int. We said int, right? And then the last one is date. Date, and the data type is also date. We've created our table, right? So here you see the details of everything you've done with your table, right? Down here it gives you. So I can save now. Then if you ask me for the name of the table, let me call this one cost. That one is customer. Let me just call this one cost. Okay, I've created that table that way. All I need to do is just come to tables, refresh, and then I will see that cost now. I can see that cost now. So if I right click this and say select top 1000, or let me just say yes, let me say select top 1000, you can see all the columns in that table. So we've created two tables now using two methods, right? Another way we can create a table is, now we created this way, right? I can say select star into the name of my table. I want to let's say I want to replicate this customer table. Now I can say select star into my table, let's say costs, that one has S, from the name of the table I'm changing from what? From cost or from customer. So I want to select star. Star here means select everything from customer into cost. So if I click this and I run, to say 0 rows affected. So meaning that way I've just created another table, but this table I created now has all these columns: name, sex, age. So let me go back to my table and refresh, and now you see cost. You can see this is that table. If I press on select top 1000, now you can see those columns, right? You can see the columns name, sex, age, and has also been created. So these are the three ways you can create table in SQL. So let's go back to our file. So this is just explaining the create table, the first one, right? The name, this is the first way I just described, the column name, the data type and the size, right? So you can create a table. Then the next command is alter table, right? Three things you can do. We are still talking about DML, right? DDL rather, which is drop, alter, create, and truncate. I've talked about create now. Now let's talk about alter. So alter is, let's say for example, this you want to change, you want to add. So three things you can do with alter is, let me state that. Is either you are add a column, right? Or you are deleting a column, or you want to modify a column. Alright, you want to add a column, delete a column, or modify a column. That's what you can do. So alter, when I say alter table, so I can say add column, I can say delete column, I can say modify column. So if you look at what you have here, you can see three things you can do. You can add, you can modify, and you can delete. Right, you can delete or drop a column. Right, so these are the three things you can do. Right, so let's proceed to SQL and demonstrate that. Let me say new query. Alright, so I want to alter now. I want to, for example, let me go to customer table. I want to add another column here. This is name, sex, age, date. Let me now say I want to add salary. So I can say alter table. The name of the table is what? Customer. Add. So I want to add. So the name of the column I want to add is what? Salary, and I have to specify the data type. So the data type should be decimal, because salary can have point decimal. All right, I'll close this and then I run my code. You can see completion, command completed. So if I go back and refresh this table customer now, let me refresh, you see that another column will have been added. So let's check the columns. You can see now we now have another column called salary. So I have altered that table to add another column, salary. So let's say, for example, you created a table and you now discover that there's a need to add the salary. This is how you can you can do that, right? So let's the next one is I told us there are three things you can delete, you can modify. Let's talk about modification. Right, let's say, for example, I want to modify. I discovered that there are some names that are more than 50 characters and I want to increase them to like 100 characters. All I need to do is just say alter table customer, then I will say modify. Right, modify, let me do for name now. Modify name. So I will now say varchar instead of 50 now 100. Right, so I want to modify to make it 100. Right, I will execute. Okay, so meaning this syntax is not acceptable. You know, I told you. Okay, I think I didn't I've not told us that. Let me quickly tell us that there are different vendors, SQL vendors, which I believe we should know. One of them is Microsoft, another one is Oracle, another one is what? Google, another one is DB2, another one is Postgres. So Microsoft comes up with what? Microsoft SQL, Microsoft SQL Server. Oracle comes with Oracle DB. Google's name theirs MySQL. DB2 named theirs DB2. Postgres named theirs Postgres SQL. Alright, so these are different vendors. Now, the name SQL, as I told us in the beginning, is the same thing. Alright, but there are differences. Just the same way you have programming language, Python, Java, JavaScript, they are all built on the same data structure, but the syntax might be different. Remember, it's just like DAX, right? DAX in Power BI, you can write DAX in Power BI, you can write DAX in Excel, right? But there is a bit of difference when you are doing some stuff. So the same way around this product, all of them are banking on this structured query language. Alright, but there are a bit of syntax. So my MS SQL is saying, okay, I can, they name their own TSQL, right? Just because of those little changes, they named it TSQL, right? So it's also called MS SQL Server, right? So these are some of the changes. Now, let me go back to this. Why am I saying this? For SQL Server, modify is not the right word, right? Modify is not the right word, right? So, but for MySQL, they use the word modify. So, what is the right word to use in um, what's it called in MySQL? Sorry, in SQL Server. So you can use alter column, right? Alter column. So instead of modify, so we use alter column in what? SQL Server. So in this case now you say alter column, the name of the column is name, and then what you are doing is you want to make it 100 characters. Alter table customer, then alter column, right? So that's how you do for this, right? Um, so if you run this now, it will be successful. You can see now it's successful, and if you refresh this table now, you see that the name will have changed to 100 instead of what 50. You can see. So that's how you can alter or modify, anyone you call it. Then the last part here is to delete, right? Which is what I told us here. There are three things to do with alter. So don't worry, the notes are here, alright? The notes are here. I'm just explaining. So the next thing is you can delete as well, or drop. Let me say drop. Alright, you can what? You can drop. So I can say, let's say I want to drop that column. I say drop alter table. So you know we are talking about what alter table can do, right? Alter table customer drop name. So let's say I want to drop that column, drop name, right? So if I want to execute, if I click on execute, what this does is it execute both. But if I want to execute a separate line separately, or is a number of lines separately, what I use is I will highlight, alright, and then run. Or I can what comment this out. So when I say comment this out, I will now turn this as say it's a comment. How do I comment out? You just do dash, 3 dash, right? Then it becomes a comment. So when I click execute, it will count this one as a comment and it won't run it. So it will run this second line, right? So if I click execute now, name is not a constraint, okay? Alter table customer drop column. Let me change it to drop column. Change to drop column name. Let me see. Okay, so I'm supposed to put this other one, drop column. So name. So now if I refresh this table, it will have deleted the dark column. So if I see name now, you see now name is no longer there. So these are the three things you can do with alter. So I've talked about create, I've talked about alter, right? So you add column, with alter you can add a column, you can drop a column, you can modify a column. But let me change it to alter a column. So alter, let me put modify. Alright, depending on the SQL. So if it were to be MySQL now, you can use modify, right? So but for SQL Server you can use modify. So that's that about that. Then on to the next. The last one here, we've talked about create, okay, alter. Then let's talk about drop. So I can decide to say I don't even need this table again. Okay, we have different tables, right? So we have cost. Let's discuss now. Let's say I don't need, this is an error, right? I can say I don't need this table again. So what do I do? What do I use? I just say drop table cost. So I want to drop this table here. So either I run this query, or I can also come here and then right click and say delete. So it will delete that table. Anyone works. Or I will just run this code and say execute. So it has executed. When I refresh table now, I won't see CUST again. You can see we just have CUST and customer. There is no small CUSTS. So I can drop, which I've just done now. Now the last thing you can do with that is you can also what? Truncate. So what does it mean to truncate? Truncate is, now look at this table in Excel, right? If I truncate this table, it means I just want to retain. So if I do a truncate, the table becomes this. No records will be in that table. That's what it means. Remove all the records. You know these are records. We call them records or rows. We call this one columns or what? Or fields. We call this one records or rows. Alright. So no more records now. So if I truncate, this is what I will have. Is that understood? So I can truncate a table with the ddl command. So you can see that it's different from drop. Drop will remove the table entirely, but truncate will just remove the records. The table will still be there. So let me quickly just insert into this guy. Don't worry, we'll still talk about insertion. So look at this. This table is empty now. So let me just insert records. So let me just say okay. So let me say insert. Insert into cost. So I can say values. Now don't worry, I will go back to this values. The columns are sex. Let me check the columns here. Name, sex, age, and date. So name. So I want the name to be Mike. Sex, male. Age 10, which is integer. Date 2021 05 04 03. Now if you notice what I did here, you will see that when I check the columns under cost, I discover that they are name, sex, age, and date. But remember, the data types are varchar, int, and date. Whenever you are dealing with text or variable characters, you have to put them in single quote. You can see single quotes, but the one that is int, no quote. Date also is also always in single quote. So if I run this now, it will insert record into this cost table. Insert into cost. So execute now. So you can see it says one row affected, meaning I've just inserted into one row. So let me go back to cost and say select top 1000. Now you can see that there are records in this. There's something in this cost table now. Mike, male is, the age is 10, and this. So I just want to use that to explain the truncate part, right? So if I now go back to SSMS and say, now there are records in this table now. If I say truncate cost, right? So sorry, truncate table cost. So if I run this code now, it will remove this one record that is in a cost table. So I just say execute. So it has executed now. Let's select again, and you see that there will be nothing under table cost again. I've truncated that table. So that's how to do that. So that's all about for DDL commands: drop, alter, create, and truncate. Now let's go to DML commands, which is data manipulation language commands. And under that, the commands there are update, select, insert, and what? And delete. Right? Now let's forge ahead. But before I go there, you notice this, right? You should be saying, I should be seeing just cost. Why is it naming all this? So that's to tell you what I explained here: database, schema, tables, and like that. So this is to show you that the database is AdventureWorks LT 2019. DBO is the schema, and cost is the table name, right? Now you remember that when we were creating that table, I just said create table. Let me see if you still have that table here. That create, okay, so yes, it's still here. So look at this now. Create table, customer, and then you have all this here. Alright. Now let's say, and you can see that immediately I said create table, it inserted it under this database adventure works. Right? So and it brought it here. Where is it? Where is the table? Okay, it brought it here, right? Now, what if there are different databases? You know, we can have many databases. This is just one. We can have another one listed a lot of them. How do we? Where is this table is going? Where is this table going to be inserted? So under which database? So that's to avoid inserting in any database, just like you do in Power BI, creating a measure and then clicking on it. What you do is you now write on top use adventure. You can see, so use this database. What this statement is doing is that I want this, what I'm doing, I want it to be related to adventure works LT 2019. So anytime I have different database, it is very important I specify this first so that it will take it to that particular database. So now let's so we've just talked about all this the draft, which is the DDL, the drop, alter, and then the truncate, right? Now I've also talked about this create as select, so which is what I wrote here the other time when I said, okay, I think I've deleted it now. Okay, so you know I wrote a command that said select star into cost, remember, into cost from customer. Now this is the way you can create another table using a previous table. So I'm saying select everything from customer, put it inside another new table called cost. Now if it were to be, you can see that the syntax here is different. It's saying create table, right? This as select. So this one only works if you are using MySQL. So this is another way. So it's the same thing we are doing. So this is used to create a new relation or table from an existing table. So the same task but different syntax. For SQL Server, this is what you use, but for MySQL you can use this create table, the table name, the new table name, and the columns you want there, then as now select from an existing table student. All right, now so I've talked about truncating as well, so we can move to DML now. Truncating is what I just truncate the table. Now the last thing here is rename. In SQL Server, there is no function as rename student to student name. So let's say you want to rename a table, right? There is no function as this. So to do that in SQL, all you need to do is just to come to the table, right? Let's say I want to rename this to maybe small letter now. So I can just say, I can just double click it and say customers, right? So and then hit enter. So you ask me, do I want to make that changes? I say yes, and then you can see now the name has changed. That's how to change in SQL Server, as simple as ABC. Now let's proceed to DML. So I told us DML is USID, update, select, insert, and delete. So I'm starting with select. Now, but let me start with insert, right? So when we say insert, we have a table already. So okay, let me start with select. So select, so I can, this is a table, right? So I want to select everything in that table. Select star from customer. Remember, if I want to run just this, I have to select it, I have to highlight it, execute. Okay, so you now have changed the name to small letter, so you have to write it the same way it is. So very important. So from customer, what's happening? Okay, customers. So you have to be mindful of the name. It has to be exactly the name. You can see now, what can you see here? It's saying sex, age, date, salary. Nothing is inside because there is no data inside. So this is how to use a select statement. I can also say select just name. So it will select just the name part. Sorry. So it is just, oh, there is no name there again. So select sex. I think the sex is even capital letter. So you have to ensure you write it the same way it's there. Home and okay, you can see now it's just selecting sex. I can say let's just sex. Let's just sex and age. I will do sex, comma age. Let me run it. Let me copy it. Let me copy it and create a new query so that I won't be having. Oh, it's not even there. So select age, sex from customers. Alright, let me run it now. And you read age and what sex. So it's not compulsory that the first column is what you will return. You can return anywhere first. It could be age first, date anyhow. And if you want to return everything, you say select what star. Now let's say I now want to insert into this table now. So this is how to insert. So the same statement, insert. It can be small letter, it can be capital letter, anyone that works. Just know that these are command. This insert into is a special command, and that's why you see that he's writing it in another letter. So insert into. So I will mention the name of the table. Let's say I want to insert into customers. Then the next thing is values. What are the things I want to insert into them? Don't forget, I have to insert into that table in accordance to the columns I have: sex, age, date, salary. So sex, I should start with sex, single column. Age is integer, so I can just say 10. Date is also in double column, a single column. And then salary is decimal, right? So it won't be in column. 23,000. And then I will close. So immediately it will insert records into this table. When I say insert, to say one row affected. Let's say I want to insert multiple rows, right? Let me duplicate this. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, Ctrl V. Right? I don't even need, so let me just, if I want to insert multiple rows, all I need is to copy this, do a comma, enter, Ctrl V, comma, enter, Ctrl V, comma, enter, Ctrl V, depending on how many. So I can now change this one. Now let's say this one I want it to be female, 13 years old. Maybe I'm changing the date to 2022. This one is 23 or 34. This one is 24. This one is also female, right? This one is on the 12th. So you can see this salary is 30. This one is 28. Let's say this one is 43. So with this, I'm inserting 4 lines. Let's change this one because we started this first one before. Let's change it 45. Let's change the date to 06, and let's change the date to 67, for example. So because now I'm inserting, first it was one row. Now if I run this now, it will insert another 4 rows. You can see 4 rows affected. That's how to insert, right? Now, but let's say in case you don't want to insert into, we have sex, age, date, and salary. You don't want to insert age. You want to make this age blank, for example. If you want to make age blank, for example, you now need to specify the name of the column. So this is what I'm saying. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, insert into customer. You want to make this one vacant, for example. Don't forget there are 4 columns, but you want to just insert into 3 columns. This way you cannot execute it this way. It will give you error. Let's run it now. You can see column name number supply does not match the table definition. It will give you error. So to do that, you now need to specify the columns, insert into customers. Now you now open a bracket and now input the columns you really want to insert value into. So age, just into age. All right, sorry, you are not inserting into age, you want to insert into sex, you want to insert into date, and then you want to insert into salary. These are the three columns, so that it will omit what? Omit age, sex, dates, and what? Salary. So if you run it now, it will be successful, right? You can see now one role affected. Now if you go back and say, so these are the two ways to insert. If you are inserting into all the columns, you don't need to specify the column names, but if you are inserting to specific columns, you need to specify the column name first before you now insert. All right, to insert multiple records, just list them, comma comma, like that, just leave them. Now if I do a new query and I say select star from customers, now you see that you now have records inside that. You can see now you now have records inside the table. You can see where we didn't insert anything for age, null, it's saying null, nothing was inserted. So this is how you insert, and this is how you select. Now you can select based on conditions. So what you use for condition here is where in SQL. So the way you filter, right, I can say select star from customer where let's say I can say where age is greater than, let's say 30. That is, I want to see those that are older than 30. If I run this, it will select areas where the ages are older than 30. If it were to be test, I can say where sex is, I put it in single quote and I male, for example, right, and this gives me only places where you can see male. If I change it to female, it gives me only where you have female, right? So, and if you are talking about date, you have to the same way, where date is, for example, you can say greater than as well, greater than or equal to maybe 2020, 2022, 02, 02, right? So you can see that's where the date is around this. So it will give you depending on what you want to achieve. So this is how to do a select statement with a where clause. Select star from customers where date is greater than or equal to 2022. All right, that is that about select statement. Now I've talked about select and insert statements. Now how do we update, right? For example, let me go back to SSMS. The next one is update, right? So let me select star again. Let me not put a where clause. So these are everything in the table. You can see the number of rows is returning at the far right here, down right, 10 rows, right? So now I want to update this table. I discovered that I made a mistake, that wherever the salary is 23,000, the sex should be what? The age should be 20. The age of the person that has salary 20,000 is 20. So all I need to do is just say update the name of the table, customer. So this is the syntax. Customer set, you now specify now set salary, set age, right? Set age to be 30. At least for the person that is earning 23,000, his age should be 30. So I will now say where salary is 23,000. So I'm saying where the salary is 33,000, the age should be 30. Change it from 10 to what? To 30. That's why it's called update. If I run this now, oh sorry, where I omitted E. So we run this now. You can see one row affected. So if you select your table again, let's say sorry, select star from customer. So if you run this, remember you want to run this separately. It's either you highlight it or you comment out this. If I run this now, you see that the age when the salary is 23,000 has changed to 30. This is how you update a table. So you can update. You can also say, so see update customer, set age to be 50, right, where age is what, 30, where age is what, 30. So meaning change where age to 30, change it to 50. So when you run this as well, you see, you can see, so I can select star from customers now and highlight it so that and you see that 30 will have changed to 50 again. All right, this is how you do an update statement, right? So you update a part of a table. All right, so that is that about that. Then the last part there will be delete, right? So remember, delete is different from drop. Drop is used to drop a table or to alter. You only use drop when you want to alter a table. You can say alter table, let's say customer, remember, and then you can say what, drop column, let's say sex now. So this is one way you can use drop. Another thing is, if you want to drop the table entirely, drop table, you want to delete, you don't want to see that customer table any longer, you can say what, drop table. All right, so you are deleting everything, right? Don't forget again that truncate is removing, truncate table customer is removing everything from the customer table aside the column header. Drop table is removing the table and everything, so you won't see this customers, you won't see this table customers any longer. Why alter table customers is just, so we are just, alter table customer is, we just want to drop a part of the, we want to delete this sex column, right? That's that. So now, but for delete, truncate will delete everything inside it, right? But for delete, if I say delete from customers, right, so I can delete a particular record. I can say delete from customer where sex is female. So I can say I don't want to see female, I just want to see male, where sex is what, single quote, female, remember. So if I run this now, delete from the customer table where the sex is female. If I run this, right, and then and if I do my select statement, select star from customer, if I do this, you see that you only see male records. You can only see male records. So this is how you can delete from a table, right? This is how you can delete from a table. Delete from customers where sex is female. So these are what we call the DML commands: USID, update, select, insert, and delete, right? So this is where we'll cover for today, but I want to check whatever we've not covered. Yeah, so we've talked about SQL overview, RDBMS concept, RDBMS databases, which are what I listed there. So all these are RDBMS databases, and SQL Server, Oracle, DB, MySQL, the vendors. So you can call them RDBMS, DBMS. What is the full meaning? Relational databases, relational database management system. So that's the meaning of RDBMS. So we can also call them SQL vendors, which are MySQL. So sorry, let me differentiate now. The vendors are Microsoft, Oracle, Google, DB, and then the RDBMS they have is SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, DB2, PostgreSQL, right? So again, so we talked about the syntax for create. It is just create table. We talked about the data types as well when we're looking at. We can also um, so when we're looking when we are creating by ourselves, right? And then you can see different data types that we have here. We have the money, you have numeric, you have decimal, you have geography, you have decimal. You have a lot of them, so you can just check them out. Those are data types, right? As well, we've talked about some of the operators. Some of the operators, we will still talk about them extensively, where we're talking about equal to and all that. We've talked about the create and drop. Okay, we talk about the database as well. So we talk about tables, drop, delete tables, insert queries, select queries, the where clause, the update query, delete query. Then we'll talk about this, right? So very quickly, we'll talk about how to create, drop or delete database, right? So it's very simple, very straight away. It's just, for example, to create or to drop a database or to delete a database, straightforward. All right. So to create a database, let me say a new query, create data. You can see create database, and you mention the name. Let's say GPLT. I'm just giving any name. So with this, if I run it, you can see command. So instantly, instead of having just one database, if you come to databases and refresh, you see that you now have 4. You can see GPLT. If I want to drop it, all I need to do is just say drop database, run it, and then it will. If I refresh now, you see that that database is no longer there. So that's how you drop. All right, and that's how you drop and create a database, right? So it's just the same thing, delete or drop. So you're dropping. So the next thing I want to talk about here, I've talked about the use statement. So I can say use a particular database. So use AdventureWorks database or use any database I take, right? So I want to talk about the hand or and the order by, group by, and top limit row num, right? So let me quickly talk about them now. All right, so let me select my table again, select star from customers. All right, I've deleted some stuff, so I've deleted the female. All right, so that's why I won't be able to see all. Look, even okay, so now I've selected everything. So let's say I want to okay, let me not use this table. Let me select star. Okay, there's nothing here, so let me insert into this table very quickly. Insert into cost. That's another table, right? So values, right? So let's check cost. That cost table, let's see the columns inside that. I will just expand and go to the plus. So I will see, okay, the columns are name, sex, age, and date. So I will insert in that format, name, sex, right? Sorry, the values is what I need to insert now. So Mike, the sex, male, age 20, date 2022 02 01, right? Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. So let's say I just want to insert into this. Let me just change the names now. Let's say Yemi. Let's do this one, Joseph, Let's say this one Alausa. Let's say this one Benjamin. Let's change the thing to 34. Let's change this one to 45. Let's change this one to 22. Let's change this one to 32. Let's say this one is 21. Let's make this one April. Let's make this one another month. Let's say May. Let's make it on 2021. Let's make it on 2020. Let's make it on 23. Now I have to put comma, right? Comma, 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 and then that's all. So meaning I'm inserting how many records? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't forget records are rows, right? So I'm writing 5 rows. Execute, and then you can see 5 rows affected. So I can now go back. Let me delete this. So I can now say select star from cost now. Right, let me execute. Now you can see now we now have 5 records, but everything that is mail. Okay, so remember I can right, so we can remember I can alter, right? I can update, right? I can update where some male and female. So let's do some updates. Mike is male, Yemi is male, so let's just allow Usa is female. So let's say update cost, set what, set name equals to set sex. Set is the sex that we want to change. Set sex equals to what, f, where what, where the name is what, Alausa. So meaning where the name is Alausa, make the sex what, female. So you can run this one role affected. You can see now that's an update for you. So then we can now select star from cost again. Now let's select star from cost, and you can see now that Alausa has changed to what, female. So let's now do some where I've explained where clause. I can say select star from cost where what, sex is female, for example, and this will return just Alausa, right? So I can say, let me go back and select star. So I can say I just want, I can do pattern, select star where the name is, or where the name contains I. Now if I want to say where the name contains I, you can see that it's only Mike, Yemi and Benjamin that contains I. So what I will do in that case is name like, so there is a like, so where name like, you now put into single quote, percentage contains I, so percentage high percentage, close it. So that percentage is saying search anywhere from the beginning, right? So this let me write 3 queries. So let me write 3 queries. So I will give 3. Now this one means contains. So I will put it in. How do I comment? Right, that's to show I'm commenting. This one means end with. This one means end with. You can see, meaning something has started, it now ended with I. And this last one means start with. Do you get the logic now? This one means contains, this one means ends with, this one will start with. So we'll try all of them now. So this one means if it contains I, right? So if I run it now, it just Mike, Yemi and Benjamin.
So if I change it to end with I, you know, it will just return what? Benji. Sorry, Yemi. You can see now, end with I is returning just Yemi. And this one is saying start with I, nothing, none start with I. Let's just say start with M. For example, if I run this now, it will just return Michael. Do you get it now? So that's how you run that. So that's the like, right? Then the one other thing I want to run is, let me select this. So to select all, let's say I want to say where, so let me go back to that curriculum. So I've talked about this like now. Okay, so I'll talk about and or her, right? Now, so that we are done with this week. All right, and then we just talk more on it when we meet on Saturday, right? So where am I? So I want to discuss all with you. So these are the data. So I can say select where the hand or her works the same way it works in Excel, right? You know, for hand, both statements must be true. For her, any of the statement must be true. So if I say where name starts with, or where name contains I, so you know, where name contains I, it will tell me Mike, Yemi, and Benjamin. I can now say where name contains I and age is greater than 30. You remember that if I do an and, where is age greater than 30? Just Yemi, Joseph, and what? Halausa. So for hand, it will, both statements must be true. For the first statement, Mike, Yemi, and Benjamin meet that contains I. For the next statement, only Yemi, Joseph, and Halausa, right? Where is that intersection now? Where is both statement true? Mike, Yemi, Benjamin, Yemi, Joseph, and Halausa. The only thing that is common to both now is Yemi. It is only Yemi that meets both statements. That is, Yemi contains I and is also greater than 32. Mike contains I, but the age is less than 30. What's it called? Benjamin contains I, but the age is less than 30. So it's only Yemi that contains I, and the age is also greater than 30. So if I want to use an and statement now, I will say and where name like, that is where name contains I and age is greater than 30. So if I run this now, it's only Yemi that this query will return. You can see it's only Yemi that meets both statements. But if I change it to her, so all is say any of the statements can be true. Let me select all. So you can see any of the statements can be true. If I change it to her, it could be, so it will return Mike, Yemi, and Benjamin is true for the first statement. But for the second statement, although they are not true, but one statement is already true, so it will return both. So I change it to her now, it will return both Mike, Yemi, Benjamin, and including what? Age is greater than 30. It will include what? Yemi, Joseph, and Halausa. Because Yemi, Joseph, and Halausa has their age greater than 30. So if I run this now, to return everything. So that's the difference between and or. The same way it works in Excel, right? So proceeding, I've explained all this. I've explained how to select database and delete database. Now the next thing I want to explain now is order by, right? Now order by is just to tell you arrange, just like you do descending order or ascending order. So if I say select start from customer, for example, from this cost, this one is MYJA. Normally if I want to order it in ascending now, it should be ABJMY, right? So all I need to do is just say order by what? Name. Now if I don't specify either ascending or descending, by default SQL does ascending. So if I say order by now, it will do ascending. You can see from ABJMY. So I can either, if I don't specify, it's doing ascending. If I specify, it's fine. But if I want to do it descending, I have to what? Specify. So DESC, that's all I need to do. So it will start from Y. You can see now it's now starting from YMJ. So that's how you order by, right? Now the next thing I want to explain here, right, will be group by. Let me select all. Group by. So how do you do a group by, right? Group by is, now for example, I want to group this age, right? I want to sum this age and I want to group it by male, by sex. So meaning for male now, if I write, so it's just like doing what do I call it, like pivot table. Yes, you can do use group by pivot table. Now I want to pivot it by sex. So how many male do you have here? Male 1 2 3 4, right? 1 2 3 4 males. If I want to sum it by their age, meaning for male 21 plus 32, 53 plus 53 plus 34, 87, 87 plus 22, that's 109. So if I group by sex and I sum the age, I will get male 109, female 45. Let's try that out. So in a group by, I have to use aggregate. Select sex and then sum what? Sum the age. So if I do this first, let me do this first so that you see what I'm saying. Select sex and then sum the age. Okay, so it's not contained, so it won't select for me because I have to use a group by. So I can now say group by. I can't use this statement. That's what Dairo is saying. I have to use a group by with it, right? So group by sex. So when I now group by sex now and I run these two lines, execute, you can see now that female is 45, male is 109. I can say group by sex. I can say order by what? Order by sex, so that male come first, or also I can say order by this sum of age. Order by this 45 and 109, so that is sum of age. I can now say descending, so that 109 come first. I can run these three together. Why is it not incorrect? That's near sum, line 3. Okay, yeah. Wait, so let me get name this one heart, for example. Okay, I think because we are doing a sum, we won't be able to. So what? In short, so you can see that this as here is just I'm aliasing it. I don't want, for example, okay, let me remove this. If I run these two lines, you can see that what is applying here is no column name, because this is just an aggregate. So if I want to put a column name, I can now use as in quotes. I want that column to be called add. So if I run it now, you can see the name is add, right? So that's how to use a group by. That's how to use order by, right? So I can say order by now. Let me say order by sex. So if I say descending now, I want male first. DS. If I run this code now, so 109 comes first. You can see. So that's how you do that. And then the last one here will be the top and the limit, right? Top and the limit. So to do that, what I was just saying is that, for example, you can filter a column and say top 10, top 5. So for example, this our data, this is select star, this is all our data. I can say I just want to see the first 3. So I can just say select, I say top means let's say top 5, and then run. Sorry, I should just select this. I will just run. You can see, let me say top 3 because everything is just 5. Top 3. You can see it just gave me the first 3 that I have in my data. So if I can also do a limit. I think limit is for my SQL. I don't think it works here. Okay, wait, let me see. So limit is for what? So limit works like that too. So you just say limit 3. So mean I just want to see 3 data. But in SQL just say top top 3. So that will be all, right? Row norm, I'll treat that when I'm talking about window functions, so don't bother yourself. That will be all for that for week 6, which we are already behind. So on Saturday, after revision of what I've just discussed, right, I will also discuss around I will also go for that and do more examples. But then to this video I'll be attaching an assignment which you also attempt to strengthen your skills. Thank you for staying tuned. Bye.